Welcome back, dear viewers. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International, and now it's time for our first topic of discussion for today's episode. And as we noted earlier, that leadership roles are all around us, not just in the working environment. And of course, the Egyptian government is sponsoring such programs to facilitate entrepreneurship and leadership. And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined here in the studio by Mrs. Nahla Bakry, and she's a political commentator. First of all, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. And first of all, let me talk about the program that were presented of the government. How would you read it, especially that, as mentioned by Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, definitely there were some comments, and he said that all these will be taken into consideration, and the most important part is that they are on the side of the Egyptian citizens, especially the needy people. So first of all, what is your impression?
My impression of the program that it's very optimistic. It's definitely, if we're going to see this program mature, we're going to see a different country. But the problem is that the program did not cover the timeline, the funding for a lot of the projects that were presented. And definitely the Parliament has to follow up with laws and regulations that ensure that we have implement all these programs. Like, for instance, in the education sector, which is the most important part that we should really focus on right now as a national, our national interest and agenda. We don't see a detailed plan, except maybe adding more classrooms and reducing the amounts of students per classroom. But we don't see a real plan, detailed plan of how do you intend to improve your curriculum, improve the, rehabilitate the teacher itself. We don't see that, so that scares me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So what other topics do you believe that should be on top of the agenda of the Egyptian Parliament to discuss and to debate?
Healthcare, definitely. We're talking about education and healthcare, the most important two topics.
I was just going to say education, of course, yes.
Yeah. These are the most important two topics, and again, the program mentions how they're going to rehabilitate and renovate out of hospitals, but again, you don't see anything about funding and timeline regarding that, which will be very hard for the Parliament to go and say, are we actually following due course, because we don't have a due course. It's not clear.
But talking about the challenges we are facing, and this is also another important part, as mentioned by Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, that he said still we are facing many challenges, still it is emergency, and still the war is on, actually, because we can see a lot of challenges. Every day there is something new on the Egyptian arena. And definitely all of the Egyptians must understand and be aware of all what is happening, so we can be able, all of us, to collaborate and challenge all these challenges, actually.
That's very true. I absolutely agree with that.
Do you feel that still the Egyptian citizen is not aware of all what is going on, or maybe because they have many burdens on daily life, actually? How do you see this?
When you have a person that is not educated and living in severe poverty, you don't really expect them to side with any other problem, because his problem or her problem is much bigger than anything else you can imagine.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, because we can see people in the past, and we can see there was poverty, they were not that well educated, but the simple man was able to understand and to be with the revolution, was able to understand all what is going on. They were fighting a lot of things, actually, and they were much more. The point is not to be educated or not, it is the awareness, the political awareness.
No, education is key, because at that time, at that era,
agree, but
you had the middle class that was leading the citizens in this movement. You had Kulthum supporting, you had icons. And all these icons, Kulthum, where did she come from? From the villages. But the kind of education system you had then really presented people like Kulthum, like Naguib Mahfouz, like Taha Hussein. Now, our education system is...
They have models.
Yeah, I do not want to name names, but like if we just give an example like Okan Ortega and kind of music like that, this is what the education system is producing. And so, yeah, I believe, although in the program we're talking about the education again as a timeline, especially by the year 2018, I can see there's, here they have a timeline. Yet we need like the kiss of life. And this could be from here, from the TV building right now. If you have a national awareness campaign boosting, this slogans of national motives and stuff like that, you can really have this boost in the people. You don't have to wait till 2018. We are fighting now. We're fighting, and that's 3 years from now. If we keep going down the drain like this, it's not gonna be, the best case scenario. But what if we do a campaign in the media now to improve awareness, or to raise a little bit of that awareness like you're talking about? That will help.
Mrs. Nahla, how do you evaluate the approach of the Egyptian government that they're implementing to reform these domains that we just talked about?
As I said, the Egyptian government, it's a nice selection of technocrats, and I believe in their motives 100%. But the problem is, in order for the government to implement these programs, they're going to be faced with the corruption. And the corruption comes from the government itself, not the ministers, but you go all the way.
The managerial, bureaucratic
bureaucracy and corruption, you're faced by that. So we hear and we see many times you have a minister that's very optimistic, very energetic, and he has, and then it comes to a barricade, he cannot really improve, and then very easy you say, okay, let's replace this minister. He didn't really get a fair chance, because the laws are not very clear how, when somebody's stopping you, and sometimes it's just a very small employee. Doesn't have to be so it's like a network of the corruption and bureaucracy. We really have to see some laws implemented to help the government implement this program, in my opinion.
And I also believe a future solid plan to tackle the challenges, and the government should give itself a timeline or something to implement in order to work on this challenge or that challenge, and so on and so forth.
We can think out of the box. We can think out of the box. On one radical side, you can say, okay, if somebody's not doing his job or not implementing this plan, he's going to be fired. Another way, we can put him on the side in an institute. We can say, like, okay, we're going to do a small institute to rehabilitate these people. We're just going to ignore that they're corrupt or bureaucratic or whatever, and we're going to give them a degree, and then in 3-6 months, maybe he can go back to his job. In the meantime, somebody else can kick in. Something like this. We can think outside of the box, so people would feel like, they're not going to be jobless, for instance. And at the same time, they're not going to block you from implementing your plan.
Just as we were talking right now about corruption, just came to my mind on the localities and how it can be a good chance for the youth actually to move into these posts, because definitely these posts actually, they have a problem of bureaucracy, corruption, and these actually sects, they suffered a lot from corruption. Are you optimistic about this, and do you believe that youth will be interested, whether we can have something like training courses for them to be qualified for such posts? How do you read it actually?
Actually, I'm optimistic and yet skeptical. I joined some kind of a program by the government, the Ministry of Youth, for the localities, and I went and I did a lot of presentations about communication skills, and I met a lot of people, and people are interested. But again, when he's in place or she's in place, they're going to be faced by more corrupt people. Is there going to be a law protecting you as an employee? Is there going to be a law that when you say, okay, this is the decision I'm going to take, or is going to say, okay, fine, let's put it in a drawer and let's forget about it? This is my skepticism comes from, again, the MBs, the Muslim Brotherhoods. They are again ready to take over a lot of these places. So again, we are just totally ignoring them and dealing with them as outlaws. Where are the programs to rehabilitate all these youth that's been brainwashed for 80 years now? We're talking about 80 years the Muslim Brotherhoods have been acting underground and, in secret organizations. Are we rehabilitating, or just totally ignoring them? They're there. You know, they're going to have a new look, and they're there with the same values and the same ideology. And this is, I think this is what's scaring also the government from really going full force with the program.
Right, also talking about the program that was presented, what are the most important points that you feel about it that you are impressed with, or you have something in mind about it, taking a general look at the program?
A general look at the program, I'm impressed that they really tackled most issues, especially in the technology, talking about how we should facilitate the services for the citizens, which something is going to be, in my opinion, a national project too, because really our lives in Egypt here is pretty tough. So any small light to facilitate the lives of the citizens is good. Making it easy to pay bills, access information. That's also about education and increasing more classrooms, as I said, it's good.
But well, actually for education, because when we talk about the development of education, we're talking about different, we have maybe 3 pillars. We're talking about the infrastructure, we're talking about the curriculum, we're talking about the teacher. Yes. And we must move parallel in the 3 directions actually, because every time we concentrate on one side, and definitely this will never work.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because if we just talk about our problem in education is that we don't have enough classrooms. That's ridiculous. You know, I actually know some people that are pulling their kids out of school because what they're learning in school is drugs, is you know, bad words and swearing, and said he's not really learning anything. It's better to work with me, you know, on whatever business I'm working. So that's actually horrible. I mean, and actually that father is right. We cannot deny that. So it's not just the curriculum, by the way. It's also how you implement ethics, for instance.
So this is the teacher.
The teacher.
The curriculum is there, but the teacher is the one who's going to teach the student or the children a lot of things, ethics, whether what we are talking, not to memorize, to be creative, to have his own imagination, a lot of things, to be leaders of the future.
To know that you have a safe environment to study. There's a lot of sexual harassment that have been, for instance, monitored lately, which is unbelievable, you know. So
let me say that I appreciate the role of the Ministry of Education these days. We know that there is a very strong campaign in all of the schools for promoting awareness among the children.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Right. Also talking about, you know, something that is really of great importance to the Egyptian citizen, talking about the subsidies, talking about the prices and the inflation. And this is, I believe, is going to be one of the main challenges for the upcoming period. How do you see this? And definitely not to be included in the program, but whenever we talk about this, some people, they put it on the government and all of this, but the point is, can we have a mechanism to control the prices? You can never control, for example, the private sector. You can never control a private doctor, for example, or a private clinic, a private school, or all of these issues. This is something of great importance as well, because it all depends upon the demand and supply.
The subsidies have been known in Egypt not to go to whoever deserves it, to the needy. Like, you know, you're subsidizing the power to the factories, for instance. That's not right, right? To cement factories. I didn't hear anything in the program about how you're going to ensure that the subsidies go to the needy and only to the needy. You know, all the cards that you get subsidized food and stuff, people misuse that, and again, it doesn't go to. So if you have a special way to ensure that the subsidies go to the needy, then you're really going to have to see a great improvement siding with the poor person. I definitely believe we should not eliminate subsidies, but just to ensure where does it go, especially in the power.
Yes, because, you know, talking about this, not only, I know definitely we are talking about the needy people, but also just as you mentioned, we're talking about factors, we're talking about a lot of people, they are using this, and you feel that the government started to take this into consideration, for example, especially not only the needy people, but we can also include the middle class as well, because the middle class sometimes, or most of the time, they are the victims because they have to pay all the bills, actually, when it comes to the prices, when it comes the increase of prices, and a lot of other taxes.
They're the only one who pay taxes. Basically.
The only one who paid the whole bill, actually. So they are included as well.
You're right. It's the taxation system is really extremely unfair, and I believe the program covers that part and says that you're going to fix that. So we're really hopeful.
This is the point. Maybe one can feel a little bit optimistic, of course.
Absolutely, I read that.
Whenever they talk, they used to talk only about the needy people, but we have to include also the middle class because they are not.
Yes, they're disappearing.
Yes,
as we speak, they're disappearing, which is very scary. Yeah, I believe that if we implement the taxation system as written in the program, we're going to see a great improvement in the, the services given to the people, and you'll have more social justice, not just words, but real social justice. And if you have social justice,
the social justice, how do you see the controversial civil service law? Should it be scrapped or rewritten? What's your opinion?
I think it doesn't really cover the social justice issue fully. It just barely touches it. I mean, you can write very beautiful words, hopeful words. We're going to do that. We need to do that. But how are you going to take care of it? You're not touching the main issue, which is the main corrupt businessmen that have been robbing these people from their what they deserve. And so it's still a matter of you're trying to, maneuver things in Egypt. People have been for so many years given lands, given royalties, and if you really want this economy to grow, you really need to empower the middle class with small projects, small to medium projects. You really have to give them tax breaks. There's a lot of things you can do, but it's beautiful.
Maybe the most important part as well, that they are taking into consideration the small and medium enterprises. And this is something of great importance, actually, to build the economy, not only mega projects, but under the umbrella of the mega projects, there must be a way for the small and medium.
Absolutely. And in my opinion, building a new capital, it's really not the right time to do that right now. You're leaving Cairo, the main capital, with all the neighborhoods that are growing on the agriculture land, and you're not really taking care, you're not rehabilitating them, while you can actually in these areas turn them into craft centers. You can turn these people by, in a way.
Why not to move into two parallel lines? I mean, why not? Because we have different entities, each one working on.
Can you really, with the kind of Egyptian worker that you have right now, with the people
because you need income. How are you going to? Because you need to have something in your hands so as to can pay for other issues. Actually, just like the education, for example, education maybe and medical issues, I believe, or health issues. They are the main challenges we are facing. Especially that to work on this, you need a whole of money. Actually,
I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Look at the new developments around Cairo. You have a new Cairo, you have in 6 October, mainly the two developments. So people have abandoned the city, saying, okay, we've had enough of that, we're going to go to our compounds, we're going to be happily ever after. What did this do? Did it really bring the economy up? No, it didn't. Because still you are totally ignoring the main issue and moving to another place. You're going to do the same thing when you do the new capital. Ignore the main issue and then move to another place. Well, this is growing. It's like a cancer growing. It's going to go and really attack you one way or the other. Attack you. It's like, I think, like breeding a terrorist. If you are not going to develop and do sustainable development in Cairo, which is needed, you can get from the UNICEF, you can get funding from a lot of organizations would love to come and redevelop Cairo for many, many reasons. And you should not totally ignore that and go and just build a new thinking it will.
Not to mention, of course, the very fragile infrastructure of the second largest city, Alexandria.
Yeah, absolutely.
But development must include, I believe that development must be, not to include, it must be only for human resources. I believe that this is our main challenge. We need to change our culture. We need to change ourselves. And I think this is something also, another challenge we have to work on. But I don't know how we can work on it.
As a mother, you would say to your son or to your daughter, you need to do better in school. That's not going to make her work harder. You can help her by, first of all,
you
being a role
mentioned mother, so also let's talk about women as well,
Yeah.
the role of the woman. Yes.
The role of a woman. But now again, we are in the media building, okay? You can give us a campaign, giving us a role model of how, guiding us.
There are many models and there are many campaigns, because we always say the media. Media is working hard on this. We have many campaigns and we have seen many hundreds of campaigns actually on this. But the point is, it is not only about campaigns, and some people, they're not following it. And they are only following, for example, the social media. And by the way, the social media can be another weapon or another challenge that we have to face, because it has to do also with the awareness. Our youth are spending hours and hours on the social media.
I think the corporate social responsibility and the media together can unite and change this country.
So do you believe we have corporate social responsibility here?
Very minimal. Very minimal. I don't see, I see big corporations. If you look at how many Egyptians are millionaires, multi-millionaires, and you see, their contribution and the way it's contributed, it's not really channeled all for the strategic planning. But if you bring all these corporations with a media campaign, I think it will make a big difference.
I think always the point that we are searching for the international investment actually, and the point is that I believe in Egypt we can achieve a lot.
I do too.
Unfortunately, we cannot see the role of the Egyptian businessman as we can see the role of the Saudi businessmen or people from the United Arab Emirates, and this is something that I don't understand.
We're extremely rich, not just
especially
rich in money,
that
we're rich.
They gained a lot of money.
When the businessmen are asked this question, they would lay the blame on the bureaucracy and the investment laws that are hindering them from doing their businesses, and that there would also lay the blame on the government that they're not encouraging them to work collaboratively.
You can do one thing, that is a tax break for big corporations that goes to certain projects with a media campaign highlighting that these corporations are helping, making the others look bad, and icons like movie stars can join in, like Kulthum, again, I'm giving an example. It will give a very big boost to developing, to sustainable development. If you channel this to sustainable development, it doesn't go just to an NGO for a small project here or there. It has to be a national thing.
Yes, I'm afraid we're running out of time, but we do appreciate your insight. Nahla Bakry, a political commentator, thank you so much for joining us on Nile TV International. Thank you. And dear viewers, away from the world of politics and under the auspices of the Minister of Culture, the inaugural ceremony for the 4th International Festival for Drums and Traditions took place in the Salah ad-Din Citadel. Representatives of more than 20 countries were there, and the aim of the festival is to promote intercultural dialogue and also to bridge the gap among the participating countries. And the celebration, of course, was attended by the Minister of Culture, Helmi Namnem, and alongside a number of distinguished guests and dignitaries and representatives of European and African countries, as well as some ambassadors. Nile TV's Dina Huwaidaq was there, and she filed in this report.